Is Big 12 women in the stands now among the fan favorites. See the officials for tonight's game? Coach, every night's a big night, but they're not created equal, and the feeling in this arena is evidence.
I love how this feels. This just really makes you happy to be part of the game of basketball.
First bucket right away. Evangelia Polk to make it 2-0. She's coming off a season-high 9 against Central Florida, starting 5 there for the Utes. And it includes Brooke Walker at the point guard position tonight.
Well, Brooke does give him a little bit more leadership.
Reese Ross evens it up at 2.
Well, a couple layups to start the game.
The starting lineup for the Cyclones. And that includes the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, Audie Crooks, who has a ton of awards and a ton of success in her career. And every night she shows up to the arena, something big is going to happen. And she's been turning heads all throughout her career, and especially this season.
Well, Audie Crooks is the leading scorer, of course, in the nation, and she's going to get low 20s through double teams all night long. So that tells you just how good she is. You can see with the very first chance that Utah has, they go with a double team.
Jump ball and possession to Utah. Time now for Elaine's Essentials. Coach, what do you have on the whiteboard tonight?
Well, you need to know the scout for Utah. You don't play Iowa State straight up at all 5 spots, and you're always picking your poison. You can already see the double team commit they're going to make. As far as Iowa State, it's really support player step up. Audie Crooks gives them a chance in any game, but hot support shooting makes Iowa State the best they can be.
She's on point. They're tough to beat. What a terrific starting 5 that they've had. Great leadership, great character, great toughness, and that obviously includes Jada Williams, one of the more electrifying players in the conference and in the country. Maddie Wilkie to go up top to Kyra Evans. She goes back to Wilkie for 3. Online but short. This 2-2 game.
She can score. Interesting. Baylor chose to double team off of her, and she went for 28, but only shot 35% that night. And so when you pick your poison against Iowa State, you want to give Crooks those shots at 70% or someone else at 35%. So Baylor did win that game.
See the Jada Williams three-pointer had a game-high 23 last Saturday. The three-point shot wasn't falling for her, but that mid-range jumper was smooth as always.
You know, she's got the entire game. She's such a complete player, and it's pretty to see. But you have to realize, like, what's the one thing that they're best at, or that they help their team the most. And I think just containing her and continuing to make her shoot over the top is something that you want to be consistent with.
Reese Ross knocks down a couple of free throws. 58.6% for her on the season. And a player who plays such tenacious defense, and her activity shows up time and time again. She has 4 double-doubles on the year. Audie Crooks harassed in the paint. Throws it up off the glass. No good. Polk, the O-board, misses on the reverse. Walker on the push. Now Ross, who was posting up against Polk, just to back her down. And eventually goes over to Maddie Wilkie. Here's Evans with the clock at 10. Wraps it around for Wilkie. And Utah has taken a 6-5 lead.
Utah's offensive pace is key for their execution. So if they can keep that kind of a pace up offensively, that's exactly what they're looking to do tonight.
3-point attempt, no good from Williams here. Loose ball foul. It's going to go against Iowa State. Everyone has a different way that they have tried to approach and defend Audie Crooks, as we see the layup from Wilkie. If you are Coach Elaine Elliott with the clipboard and doing the work to prepare for that situation, how would you end up defending?
Well, so far exactly as they are. I would take the 4-player, who's Reese Ross. I would play her off of their 4-player. The starting 4-player on their team is Polk. That's the place that you want to bring your size kid down to double team, so you have 4 and 5, what we call a monster in that double team. The pressure will be on the rotations to protect the rebound sometimes on the backside of leaving that player off. But that's exactly the start that I would have done as well.
Spinning to the right, no good, Evans. And a second possession for Iowa State. They've been the team that has dictated the terms on the glass their last 4 games. It's no good for Maddie Wilkie. And the rebound comes down to Sydney Harris. A 3-ball up on the way and no good from Ariana Jackson coming off that career performance a week ago. She hit 6 3-pointers in that game. Shooting 46.7% from the outside.
Well, she's one of those.
She doesn't check.
She's one of those shooters on her team. 92 of her 100 shot attempts are from 3. So we do know what her game is, and the one piece of the game that you've got to take away from her.
Well, Sammy's report was right on about just how personal Iowa State is for her to have a dad and a brother play football at Iowa State, and a person that grew up being such a lifelong Cyclone fan. I doubt you could really measure the importance and the impact for a player when being at the place they play is personal. First touch of the game for Elisa Williams. Throws it back out now for Jackson. And Jackson has money from 3, picking up right where she left off in against UCF.
Well, that's just a mistake by Utah. You should not be doubling down on Williams when she's in the post. You certainly don't do it off of their best 3-point shooter, so I'm not really sure why that dig down happened in that circumstance.
Lisa Williams fires back out to Jackson, now back to Williams. Underneath on the reverse and scoring it. Lisa Williams, who played for her mom, Lisa Williams, in high school. The nifty move underneath, it's 10-6.
Well, that's remembering that is a left-handed post player. So you do quite a few different things against her than you're going to do when Crooks is in.
Evans, a good look straight away. Utah is now 1 of their last 9. 0-4 from deep to start this game. They have 9 3-point makes per game, which is 16th in the nation. They've hit 10 or more threes for the 13th time on Wednesday. They're 13-0 in those games. Back in the post again, resetting. Elisa Williams, drop step, 2-step, left hand, too far.
Well, and that's a better job defensively in the post that time. A good jump that left hand, a much tougher shot for Williams, and they get the miss on that.
The Utes have gone cold, missing their last 7 from the field. So 3 on the way from Kenzie Hare. That's off. Kenzie Hare was 0 of 7 from deep last Saturday. The Utes defeated UCF on Wednesday. That was in Orlando. Iowa State's last game was also against the Knights, although that was a home game. Ross trying to end this drought for Utah in the first quarter. Ball's knocked out of bounds. We will step aside. Cyclone, well, Tom Izzo, Michigan State, is right there. 10 seasons with 25-plus wins. And speaking so much with those around the program, they talk about how character and academics and all of those things matter so much to him and the entire program. Here's a good look 3 from Jada Williams. Hit one earlier, long on this one. Williams 29.8% from deep on the season. L.A. Snead in the game for the first time. But for Iowa State, they had their best fall semester academically as Ross slips inside. She has 6 points on the game. Utah trails 10-8.
Well, with this lineup defensively, I'd actually I'd change the matchups and I'd be going double teaming off of Beatty at the backup point guard.
More on the game tonight. Let's go to Sammy Miller.
Coach Peterson emphasized that only tough teams win in February. So if you want to finish Big 12 play strong, you have to both be mentally and physically tough. And for Utah, that toughness has never been in question. Coach Peterson said the team has been hit with sicknesses. They even had players throwing up at halftime at UCF, and they were still able to toughen it out because this team is not one to give any excuses. They will power through and get the job done, and that mentality will be crucial tonight against Iowa State.
Well, certainly, Sammy. They've put their toughness on display, so has Iowa State throughout this season. These two teams so well coached, programs that are in good hands. Birch tried to go to Polk, and a quick touch from the inside. And here is Reese Beatty, the freshman who has performed like everything but a newcomer. And Williams swirls in the mid-range jumper. It's 12-8. Catalina Otto, freshman from Latvia, gives to Lonnie White. White buries a triple, the first one of the night for Utah.
Well, that might break the basket open a little bit for him. I've really liked, actually, the shots that Utah has gotten to look at, and they've looked good. So I think that you just have to show patience in this circumstance and believe in your shot. And when they start dropping, sometimes they can rain on you.
The Utes had a cold stretch going into that timeout. Knocked down a couple cents. Foster adds onto it, and Utah's on top.
That's a happy back-to-backer for the Utes, I'm sure. One kid hits one, and sometimes it just helps everybody.
They've hit their last 3 shots now. Audie Crooks with her first field goal of the night, and it ties it up at 14. Audie Crooks went without a field goal in the first half for the first time in 2 years last week. However, did get to double digits for the 89th consecutive time. A foul on Utah will give the ball back to Iowa State. Well, an 0-5 start from deep coach, but they've started to heat up since.
They are going to need to shoot the ball well. I didn't ask that specifically of Gavin, but he offered it. There's no secret to where the points can come to in a big bunch for the Utes, and that is from the three-point line. So, they're going to have that kind of night. I think that you've got a freshman on Crooks right now, and one of the things you have to do with Crooks is you have to be sure that you're more baseline, but to baseline than you are down the lane line, so that you give the right angle to your double team coming down, and that's why I think she was so easily scored on the last time with Crooks.
Williams, harassed by Snead, makes the shot. Too many steps. A turnover.
Well, what you just saw was the contain that you need to do on Williams. You can't let her get all the way to the rim. You've just got to contain the dribble. And when you do that, then you make her play over you. You don't go for the feints. You don't go for the change of directions. And L.A. Snead really did a nice job in that defensive possession.
White is open for the layup, but an offensive foul is going to be called against Evelina Otto, setting up the screen on that play. All knotted at 14. She has 6 points, and Iowa State back in the lead.
Well, you cannot let 2 smalls screen for each other and somehow leave one of them open for a 3, and it certainly cannot be Ariana Jackson.
Snead trying to go around Crooks, gets to the base. Shot clock at 7, 4 seconds difference, shot and game. Snead trying to get around Hare, lost it. Up the court they go. Wilson beats the buzzer, misses the shot. The first quarter comes to an end. They have the offense that will remind you quickly if you're not on point. Crooks, one of those key players. Another one of them, Jackson, her third already. Ariana Jackson, who hit 6 triples last Saturday, off to a terrific start here tonight.
Well, one of the things I think they have to do with their double teams on the Utes end of the floor is they have to not rotate out of it. They need the ball to only go back to the kid they're willing to leave and make her be the threat. Because in the rotations are when they will find a player like Jackson that will really hurt them from 3.
Let's go to Sammy Miller.
Coach Peterson asked the team in the huddle, how hungry are you? Because at the end of the day, it's up to them to decide what team that they want to be today. After all, he said, you beat TCU, you beat West Virginia, you have it in you, so you have to play with that confidence. Let's see if they are hungry to get another big-time win over Iowa State.
Well, that fight and that fire, that hunger, but also an intense amount of focus required against this team.
And Iowa State in the zone in that last possession, which we haven't seen yet. They do play a lot of zone, generally speaking. The Utes aren't the best candidate, I don't think, to play zone against, but Iowa State also plays it like a matchup, and they cover a lot of ground and do not lose a lot of people in that.
Jada Williams, always see the scoring and watch the highlights, but she was handed a very important responsibility of the point guard position after Emily Ryan graduated. Emily, a special player. But you look at Williams, her assist rate is up exponentially. And her 44-point game against Cincinnati, incredible, second most in program history, but I thought her 16-point, 14-assist game at Houston was every bit as impressive.
Well, I'm just going to say again that you really have to contain her off the dribble. You cannot overplay, you can't go for fakes and spin moves, and you just have to still be there at the end. because in that case, Brooke was not in a defensive position to stop the drive, coming down the lane line with her, and that's the N1 that she can get sometimes.
Iowa State with another stop defensively. And after they went behind for just a moment, they now built the lead out to 8. They will travel against Jackson. Utah will get the ball back. It's a 10-0 run here for the Cyclones.
Right. This is really one of those really important offensive possessions that the Utes need to have something that they believe in and somebody that they want to go to, because you have to stop runs with your best. And that ended up in a turnover, which, you know, it's just hard to stop runs anyway, but you really want to get to a way that you can score, that you believe you're going to score a really high percentage on when you're trying to stop runs and get back in the game a little bit.
Jumper straight away by Jada Williams. The rebound comes down to Reese Ross. Ross already with 5 caroms in this game. A kick ball will keep the shot clock at 24. Jada Williams may need an extra second. Let's take a look at this again.
I think she's going to come down on the ball. Yeah, she's got that right foot sprain. I think, you know, that looks bad right there. It's not fun. I'm pretty sure she'll fight through that one.
I think she's going to be okay as she's attended to. The Utah offense had a cold stretch in the first quarter. They're trying to find their offensive rhythm back since the late moments of the first quarter. Evans with the clock down to 3, lunges inside with the left. And that puts an end to the run that was 10-0 for Iowa State.
Right, that's important.
Brooks wide open, blocked by Evans. She was a specialist at Michigan in that area. Comes up with a big block there. Now on the offensive end, Snead goes base, gives off to Ross, and Ross misfires on the layup. Another look and another hit for Ariana Jackson. Jackson is 4 of 5 from the outside.
Ariana Jackson picked up right where she left off as she hit 6 threes against UCF and already has 4 tonight. And Coach Fenley said it's truly hard to put into words the impact that she has on this team, as she is a very calming presence that makes this team whole. This group has really needed her, and she has stepped up in every single way.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Her presence back at practice again, they said, was a key part to the turnaround after the 5-game losing streak. And also, to your point, Sammy, this team has prided itself on academics, and she graduated with a 4.3 GPA. Recently, this Iowa State program had a fall semester, a combined 3.83. It's one thing to talk about wanting to check all the boxes in terms of character and personal development and academics, but this program, as much as any, truly walks the walk in that way. Reese Ross, strong drive, bumped and fouled. She'll go to the line. It's been a strong start here for Ross, who's been very active on both ends.
She is the most aggressive to the rim, she and Lonnie. And it really helps, again, just to get some easier points, get a little more chance to close the gap. I think the problem with playing Iowa State, I mean, Iowa State averages 74 in conference. And you don't want to get into a situation where you have to outscore them. And honestly, I mean, Jackson hit 3 threes and was open all 3 times. That's what you have to look at defensively when you're playing against them and see, are you taking away what they do best? And if you don't, you're going to have to outscore them. And if you have to do that, good luck.
Ross cuts the game to 8. A 3-pointer from Sydney Harris. There's no good. Harris, a 37% three-point shooter. Lonnie White around the screen of Kyra Evans. Goes baseline, finds Walker, and it's erased by Elisa Williams. Here comes Jada Williams now back in the game. Looks for Elisa.
And she's open. A mistake by Utah. The freshman, Snead, turns around and looks at a post player that you're going to only play one-on-one against. That's a simple in-out that the Cyclones get to their best shooter on the perimeter. It's just the kind of mistakes that they can't make.
Ross with a tough bucket inside. It's a 16-5 run right now for the Cyclones. Jada Williams backs up against L.A. Sneed. Sneed under the screen. Williams misses on the three-point look. Utah shooting 35% from the field, 25% from deep. Sneed well long on that three-point attempt. And L.A. Sneed shot just under 40% from deep during conference play. It's been a huge benefit to them, especially when she's been in the starting lineup as well. Elisa Williams shoots over Evans, gets it to go, and the foul. And Elisa Williams look to convert the three-point opportunity, and the lead is back to double digits.
Well, she made Williams do exactly what she has to do. Honestly, her arms aren't straight up and down, so that is a call they have to make. She makes her do the right thing and then just misses out on the kind of positioning that you want to get into in an over-through-you positioning, and that's her arms need to be straight up, palms to the ceiling.
Audie Crooks, for good reason, is showcased a lot with this team. Two-time unanimous first-team All-Big 12 selection. That leaves no doubt. But Iowa State, there's so many great pieces to this team. They make it very difficult to defend, very difficult to slow down over 40 minutes. Reese Ross buries a triple. And Utah has brought the deficit back down to 9. Ross with 12 points tonight. Jada Williams with the extra move. Off the handle, Evelina Otto, the 50-50 ball. Walker, without numbers, will slow it down. Walker in the paint, out to Wilkie. Otto goes high to Ross, and it's tapped around and grabbed by Williams.
I would like to see Maddie Wilkie get more involved offensively. She hasn't had any looks since early in the game.
Brooks with a deep catch, but unable to convert. She's 1 of 4 so far with 2 points. Ross is bumped and fouled. This is the second team foul against Iowa State.
I think there is a little bit of some disagreements probably throughout the game on the kind of contact that Crooks is allowed on the offensive end that isn't often called. I know one thing, it's pretty tough to be in the right position because to take a charge on Audi, you're going to have to take it in the face. She's just too big, strong, has such a quick pivot. It's not something that you can do, through your body. And that's a tough ask.
Tough runner for White, couldn't get it. Crooks comes down with the board. Grace Foster in for Utah, sitting down Reese Ross with a great start, 12 points and 6 rebounds. Reese Beatty gets it back from Polk. She's guarded by Brooke Walker. Slithers inside and drops it in, the freshman from Jamestown, Tennessee. And it's 33-22. Now she comes from a town of less than 2,000. Moves like that will get your name in the Jamestown Courier. Also the Fentress Courier, as they call it.
Well, and again, the point guard position has to be contained. When Beatty comes in and gets to the rim, you don't want to let her get past her. You don't want to go for any fakes. You want to play straight gap defense on her and the dribble and make sure that you're still between her and the basket at any point in time that she's dribbling the ball. And you just can't go for the fakes.
Somehow, Evelina Otto came up with that ball, scored it, and the foul. How on earth did that just happen?
Well, if Otto was about 4 inches taller, she'd be as good as they come around the basket because she is strong. She's willing to take hits. So, it's just a matter with her. She's just not going to be denied the ball. And with that in mind, she takes the hit and ends up being able to get up through that. And, it goes in. So not always in that circumstance.
She is so strong. Showed it on that play right there. She's come up with a really a couple of few really tough 50-50 balls, unable to convert with a three-point play. She was shooting 14 for 16 during conference play at the line and hadn't missed in a month before that miss right there. Beatty around the Williams screen. Williams now sets up the screen for Hare. Hare into the paint is blocked by Otto and a foul. The fans strongly disagreed with that one.
Well, again, I think the mistakes are made farther out. In other words, I think that it's not that hard to keep dribbles in front of you if you understand that as a priority. Hare is certainly a three-point shooter, but any of the kids, once they get you on their hip, they're all capable of finishing at the rim. So I just really think that if Utah can make that kind of an adjustment in the second half, they might help some of the defensive situations that they're finding themselves in.
Turnover by Utah. Here comes Beatty. Pedal down in the lane. Lost it out of bounds. Officials confer it's out of bounds to Iowa State. Very important 2-11 here, headed towards the break. Utah's had their ups and downs offensively, trying to have that last punch going into the intermission.
It is. I think their defensive stands here are going to be critical, and mostly they just want to be sure that they're not giving things that Iowa State wants to get.
Posting up Elisa Williams. Shoulders into Otto. Goes underneath but couldn't get it. White tight ropes the baseline, saves it in. White gives it back to Otto. Sneed crosses and goes back to Otto again. Under 10 on the shot clock. Otto finds White. She goes up against Beatty. Running out of time. Wilkie lets it fly. Short. And the rebound is going to come down to Harris. Spinning, and an offensive foul called on Kenzie Hare.
Well, Iowa State does a great job of understanding personnel and their defensive assignments. They're not going to defend the 5 spot at Utah. That player defensively will not come out of the paint. And Utah just still is not comfortable enough with both Kyra Evans and Eva Otto to just get to 15 feet and give it a look from there. They're capable of scoring, but when you don't look, you don't have the confidence yourself, and you don't make a defensive choice pay for that choice.
Utah's been able to get some stops, but have not been able to convert. 1 minute left, and Williams flat on the 3. Don't forget to join us at the half. L.A. Sneed sat down with us to talk about her journey to Utah, plus take a guess at how many pairs of sneakers she has. Well, we'll tell you that answer and more, plus Sammy will catch up with both head coaches with their thoughts on the first half. Not to mention stats and highlights all coming up next. Kyra Evans, a very important three-pointer there, and the deficit is 6. Evans on the year shooting 25% from deep, but you like her touch and her shooting ability. Now Evans harassing defensively. Crooks is short. Utah with the final say here.
Well, smartly, they're going to wait till that last shot.
Iowa State with a scoring drought of over 3 minutes. Lonnie White around the Evans screen. Lost it. It's picked up by Crooks, and the first half comes to an end. Crooks, 2 points in that first half. Don't be surprised if she has a red-hot second half. That was the case in the game against Central Florida. She went without a field goal until the late moments of the third quarter. 33-27 at the start of this third tonight. Backdoor cut, Wilkie goes to the reverse. And Utah's cut what was once a 12-point deficit down to 4.
Well, Iowa State averages 64.5 points in their losses, those 5 losses. So, if this kind of scoring holds up, that's what you want. You want to try to get them in the 60s to get a W.
Audie Crooks Makes the basket. Now goes to the free throw line. 71% shooter at the stripe. Crooks has 5 now in the game. The lead is back out to 7. Curious to see what Iowa State now does offensively. Their ball movement, something they're pleased with in a lot of different ways. Had some looks, weren't able to convert as often. Ross had a great look, missed there, but is fouled.
It's a nice action. One of the things Iowa State does, I mean, they have some great ways to get Jackson looks, and you just have to give credit to a system and a coach who has ways to get the things they want as compared to, hoping the kids find out how to do it.
Evans holding at the high post now to Lonnie White around the Evans screen. The bar is soaked floater off the front of the rim. But a foul will send White to the free throw line. Audie Crooks called for the foul. That is her first.
Well, it's a good take, and that's the kind of aggressiveness that they need to have. One of the things that I didn't see on the first possession at the other end for the Utes was a double team when Crooks had the ball, and I don't think they should change at all their approach. I just think they should change what they do after the double team when the ball comes out. They should only leave the player open who they're doubling down off of and not run any rotations and make that kid shoot the basketball.
Lonnie White with a rare miss at the free throw line and an 0 for 2 trip. She had missed just 2 free throws since December 17th. She was 30 of her last 32, 93% during conference play. A tough, empty trip. Iowa State 16-1 when leading at the half. And coming in to score on this play is Paul, the SoCon Player of the Year. She was also Defensive Player of the Year in her time at Wofford. Wilkie backs up for 3. No good. Another rebound for Reese Ross, but a jump ball called. And the possession arrow is pointing towards the Cyclones. Hopefully Ross is okay. Great execution here from the Iowa State Cyclones.
One of the recognitions that you have to have is that double team. When you're going big, is you can't come on the catch when your kid is on the backside block. In that case, you have to just cover there. And if Crooks turns or puts it on the floor, then you can safely come off the backside in this case, Paul, who's playing the 4 spot, because you can dig it off the floor. She's not a passer when it's on the floor, but you cannot come on the catch in that particular setup from big to big.
Crooks coming alive now here in this second half. Converted on a previous and one. She has a chance to do it again. So talented. Obviously, as a basketball player, 2-time state champion in the shot put. Last year is when she actually crossed the 1,000-point mark, and it was against Utah. White, a catch and shoot 3. Utah badly needing a bucket. A loose ball foul is going to be called. And this is going to go against Sam Crisp.
I think the Utes really are they're going to have a second half from Lonnie White and Maddie Wilkie. And they're just too big of a piece of their offense and their skill set to be able to win without some contributions from those two.
The lead is 12, matching the biggest here tonight for Iowa State. Williams crosses, fires, no good left. Loose ball rebound, White. It is cut off by Williams. He'll settle into the half court. And Wilkie tripped up and fouled. An 8-0 run right now for Iowa State. Utah badly needing to find something offensively to get some momentum back and quickly.
Right, that's one of maybe the second biggest run that Iowa State's been able to go on, and it hasn't been something that Utah has been able to answer very quickly.
Lonnie White tries to go around. Crooks is blocked and a foul is called. Crooks with her second now. Lonnie White, who had an 0 for 2 trip at the line, which was very bizarre, will now get 2 more at the free throw line.
those are the kinds of things, the opportunity at the free throw lines, or if they get something, at the rim or the open three, that you've got to stop that bleeding from the run from the Cyclones. So this is your best chance with free throw opportunities.
Lonnie White, her 80th game as a Ute. For more on the Utes, here's Sammy.
Coach Peterson wants his team to have a fearless mindset on the court and always have the belief that their next shot is going in. The veterans on the team, like Lonnie White and Maddie Wilkie, they miss 2 or 3 shots, but they keep shooting and are hunting for quality shots. The younger players on the team need to have that same mentality right now.
Sydney Harris knocks down a triple, the former freshman of the year in the MAC. Now gives her team their biggest lead of the night at 13. Another stop for the Cyclones. Trying to let defense turn back into offense. In the corner, Ariana Jackson clangs in and out. That one looked good and was halfway down. Walker rainbows a 3, draws nothing. Offensive rebound, Wilkie, a turnover. And the Utes still searching for answers here in the early part of the third quarter with their offense.
Right, they just haven't been able to answer. It's not a lot of good feel out there. Brooks, I think it's just struggled since she's come back on the offensive end from her injury.
Audie Crooks muscling deep in the paint, converts and scores. And Audie Crooks now with 10 points. This is the 90th straight game she's been in double figures.
Well, and Crooks is so good at rebounding in her area. She just has a really nice straight up, back up quick, getting her own misses and back up to the shot that makes it really tough. Even when you get the miss, it's not like it's easy to turn around and then get the rebound on the miss.
Williams goes to the left, couldn't get it. 5-on-4 quickly for the Utes. Sneed goes to the corner. Wilkie a 3, no. O-board, it's Ross. Sneed with some space to operate. We'll go to Otto on the block. Out to Ross. Catch and shoot 3 is flat. The O-board now to Wilkie. Floater no good. And Utah with multiple chances to convert after getting a stop and another empty possession.
Right. It's certainly difficult for them in a game like this to be able to get a W with the
Sydney Harris
and just taking advantage of all the open opportunities they get.
Sydney Harris with another 3. The biggest lead now 16 for the...
Yeah, it's just been tough. Crooks can just do it quick when she gets that one-on-one situations, and she's had more of those in this half, certainly, than the first half. And even on the misses, like I said, she's so good at just back up and getting it and quick back up again. So a real challenge for anybody, and the Utes are, I think that the bigger problem for Utah is that they cannot stay with the best teams in this league without shooting the ball better. They're not going to be able to handle these teams at 30% shooting, and that's where they're at this point.
Utah 0 of 6 from the outside now in the third. Back in the paint, Elisa Williams moves the lead up to 18 points. And Iowa State starting to flex in a big way during this third.
Well, what's really great right there is just their in-out, back-in game, meaning, they have Williams on the floor, and she isn't their best post player, but what she does is she makes the first catch, plays out, and then she gains ground, and all of a sudden the second catch she's getting is right at the rim. And that's a freshman defending her in Otto, and she has to learn that kind of thing, that when a player gives it up, you can't let them gain ground. In fact, generally you have to then slip and get back in front while they're backing down for the pass back inside.
Utah has made just one of their last 11, but Evelina Otto somehow comes up with another ball she had no business getting, earns the trip to the free throw line.
You have to love her effort. She really will give you everything she has, and she is outsized in this league at the 5 and just does all of the other things that she can with strength and grit and attitude.
Well, the movie star from Latvia will star in a film where her acting ability was credited heavily by women who were a part of that Latvian national team many years ago. There's another 3 on the way from Sydney Harris, who is on fire in this third quarter. Her mom, an All-American, and in the SIU Edwardsville Hall of Fame. And she has been scorching hot in this second half. She has 9 in this third quarter alone. 19-point Iowa State lead. That is the biggest. It's gone quiet here in the Huntsman Center. Otto with the left. On the block, Elisa Williams, strong, leaning in, but unable to finish it. Lonnie White and the Utes trying to make a surge towards the end of this third quarter. This frame 21-10 in favor of the Cyclones. Sneed earns a trip to the free throw line. LA Sneed, who had some struggle shooting free throws there for a bit, is now at 71% during conference play. She'll shoot 2 when we come back. May for Iowa State. This game important for both teams, obviously, with them being right there on the border. And each of them on the inside looking out.
Well, I think with Iowa State, they've got those quality wins. Only have one loss that really hurts them. Their net score is really good, and I think as long as they don't lose to anybody in the Big 12 from here on out that is lower than they are, and picks up, maybe another win out of that top 4, I just don't know how they aren't a lock to get into the NCAAs.
Watching them on film, they're much better than their record would say. This looks like the team now that won 14 in a row, not the team that lost 5 in a row.
Right. It was just a real interesting change in what happened for them. And they have had injuries. Addie Brown no longer is playing for them with her injury. As we mentioned, Jackson was out, and when she came back, they haven't lost since she's been back. And you can see why. I mean, her addition to this team, even though you can say to yourself, she is just a three-point shooter, which, in fact, that's true statistically. That's all she looks for. But if you can't beat their actions that get her open, if you can't get to her and make her three-point shot difficult, she can have nights just like she's having tonight.
Iowa State has done many things really well, especially during the winning streak recently. However, poor free throw shooting has crept up at times, although tonight they're 7 for 9. In 7 of their last 10 games, they shot 65% or worse. 6 of those were less than 60%. But they have been all business here so far tonight. They're up 56-38.
Someone has to get hot. Somebody has to get hot for the Utes. They're not going to be able to do much if they can't hit some of these three-point shots.
Finally, they hit one in the third quarter. It's Reese Ross.
Right. They work with pace. They have an opening, and Reese has been the only one tonight to hit that shot, and they're going to have to get it from some different sources.
A takeaway, on the move. Here comes L.A. Sneed. Throws across the river for Wilkie. A 3. There's an air ball off left, and it is rare that Wilkie will miss by that margin. Well, you could feel it in this arena, Coach. The three-pointer there from Reese Ross, and then in transition, a good look from a great three-point shooter.
There's time from a three-point shooting basketball team like the Utes are to make a difference and still make a game out of this. That's just what has to happen. You have to be able to turn around and turn over the shot misses that have occurred and just, get hot.
Jada Williams almost got that to go. Wilkie takes it right at Harris. Throws it out of bounds, out of the reach of Grace Foster.
I really like that, Maddie can put the ball on the floor and she can get inside. The thing that has to happen with kids that take the ball into traffic is they have to have the ability to shorten up the dribble, slow down, stay in control, jump stop, and make a pass, or dribble through and not commit at all. The problem comes in the commitment off the dribble in the same pace, and then what happens is they're forced into a pass that went away in the time it took them to get there.
Lonnie White, rebound number 7. It's a 15-point deficit, just over 2 minutes left to play here in the third. Ross setting up the screen for Foster. Otto thought about a 3, instead goes over to Sneed. Sneed snaking in the paint, just barely missed on that, did not establish herself in bounds. And the ball will go back to Iowa State. Iowa State without a field goal in 3 minutes. The rebound battle has been an interesting one for Iowa State. In their 5-game skid, they lost the rebound battle each game, and by an average of nearly 10. In the 4-game win streak, they haven't lost it since, and overall, a plus 30. Now tonight, Utah's done well in that area, so they're winning it at 35-28. Iowa State also had 15 offensive rebounds in that game against Central Florida.
Right. You know, Iowa State is just an example of the sort of the ups and downs of any sport and competition. They hit that 5-game streak, and they're not the team they could be. I mean, they just weren't able to find the rhythm and the confidence and the game that they were capable of. And then, boom, they've just turned the light on. And this is not the same team that lost those games. This is the team that started, as you mentioned, and early on with a win over Iowa in the preseason, who was at number 11 in the country. So Iowa State is going to have a lot to say about what happens here down the stretch with the Big 12.
Coach Fenley and his staff and the leaders of this team staying poised, staying patient while they adjusted after the Addie Brown injury. How often did you have a team where you felt like things aren't looking great right now, but there's enough going on underneath the surface, we're going to break out of it, we're going to be fine?
Well, you know, you just have to always be sort of solid in that as a coach. I mean, you cannot get too upset and down and show anything in the losing streak that makes you think it's happening because your kids aren't good enough. It's just the way competition goes, and even though that maybe sounds cliche, it's true. If you could compete always to the best of who you are, you can never lose, and that's just not what happens in basketball or anything else. So it's just a mental game, and you have to keep playing it, and you have to be good at it.
Crooks with the catch against Evans, has it poked away and knocked away. Jonestead has it. 16-point lead for Iowa State. Walker in this Utah offense trying to make a push in this final minute of the third quarter. Reese Ross to work once again. What a terrific performance she's had. 18 points and 9 rebounds. We talked about Iowa State, how connected they are. For more on that, here's Sammy Miller.
When you have a team that is that close-knit, when hardships do happen, you're still able to pull through because every single person on this team believes in each other. It doesn't matter if you're a starter or someone coming off the bench. And Coach Fenley always preaches that when the outside noise gets loud, that circle has to be even tighter, and we're seeing that tonight.
Oh, great point, Sammy. And it was put that way and in a big way. You have to remember who you're playing for, who you're playing with, and not to let the outside stuff get in. This group did a terrific job of that.
I just think they're to be commended, and you know, it does really start at the top in this particular instance, in this kind of situation. You have to have great leadership on the team, but it has to start in terms of what their mentality is and what it is that they really believe has to come from the head coach. And I think Bill has just obviously handled this situation as well as it possibly could have been handled.
And a staff that's been together for a very long time.
16 years.
Now,
whoa!
I can't imagine keeping this down together. The officials have something to sort out here. During that last Iowa State possession, your screen was not an illusion. The clock was frozen in the arena and obviously on your TV monitor. It was at 57.1. It stayed there for a while. And now in this moment, they're fixing the clock at 53.4
All right,
at this moment.
We got that fixed.
Utah 5 for 17 in this third quarter. Just 1 of 8 from the out. 4 triples.
Right. She is the shooting 4 spot that they have as compared to Polk, and she has just really had a night.
Evans spinning. Second move against Williams. Strip foul. And Evans will go to the line. Well, it's one thing if Crooks is going to start making plays. And then you have Ariana Jackson. You have a player in Jada Williams. Now all of a sudden you have Sydney Harris catching fire. This team, when they're clicking like this, they're going to be really tough to stop.
Well, the great teams always have just so many weapons, and they come to play, and they are efficient. You know, tonight is a great example of that. I mean, Crooks is just patient when it's not her time. Some of the perimeter guards are making plays, and then it becomes her time, and she puts up 10 quick, and then they, you know, Harris is in, and she can hit the 3 and finds herself open and just buries them. So just great answer from a really good Iowa State team who is now showing the capacity to play at their finest.
Crooks, they have just put an exclamation point on this third quarter. It's an 18-point lead now. Walker trying to have the final say. Couldn't get it to go. And a dominant third. Iowa State
call themselves the Twins. When Jada came to Iowa State on her visit and saw AJ, she said, man, we look alike. But that wasn't the first time these two met, as they used to play against one another all the time in AAU games, starting in the 3rd grade. Iowa State fans even get them confused for each other, but they just roll with it. And at the end of the day, they both emphasized how blessed they are to have each other in their lives, as they are best friends on and off the court. Jada added that she feels much more comfortable on the floor when she has AJ by her side because of the mentality and energy that she brings on defense, as they're able to feed off of each other, further showing why the Twins have been so dominant this season.
You're right, Sammy. You watch them on the court and you're thinking they're too connected not to be related. Then you see them off the court, it's the same kind of thing. They are fun to watch. So are the Cyclones. Lonnie White hits a 3 to start this 4th, and they badly need some offensive production here in the final frame.
Well, they do. Iowa State's the one shooting at 43.5% for the game. Utah's down at 23%, and it needed to be the other way around for Utah, certainly.
Crooks with the extra move, puts it home, and Audie Crooks, who now has 14 points in this second half. Utah had a tough third, trying to bounce back here in the 4th. Evans takes it at Crooks, gets by her, and gets it on the glass, is fouled. Utah tonight 10 of 17 at the stripe. Take a look at that 3-pointer from Lonnie White.
Right, well there you have what they've needed all along, is just to get some of those 3-pointers to fall from White and Wilkie as well. I think with Kyra not being willing to even look at the basket out top, it puts a lot of pressure on kids that are going to the rim. So at the free throw line, that's one of the things you can do now to be sure that you get as much chance to score as you can. I think that you just have to try to keep finding those 3-pointers and see if they can get on a defensive stretch, get some stops, and pull this thing back to at least 10 before this thing goes, if not put themselves in position.
Some pressure here defensively from Utah. Stolen away by Wilkie. They get the takeaway, and now a stumbling moment and a travel from Maddie Wilkie. It's been a strange night at times offensively for Utah.
Well, it has, but one of the things that's interesting with Iowa State now and when they were struggling, with the exception of only one of those 5 games, they only had one other player other than Crooks score in double figures. But they were simply not playing. They didn't have the support. You look out here tonight and you see the best they have to offer, and there is just a lot of support for the Cyclones as far as what they can do offensively around Crooks.
To your point, Utah with another takeaway. Now they'll get a chance at the line with Lonnie White. For Iowa State tonight, Jackson in double figures, Williams, Harris, and Crooks as well, but Elisa Williams has had a nice performance this evening with some timely hockey assist and some deep paint catches.
I just think Iowa State is very comfortable at this point playing around Crooks when she's not necessarily involved, and they just take over the game. That's what it takes, and that's what they were not doing when they were struggling. If they continue to that, they're just a really, really, really nice, competitive, at the highest level kind of basketball team.
Iowa State is going to have to figure out this pressure. They've turned it over the last couple of times. Utah brings it out again. Another turnover. Coach Fenley calling out some orders right now. Curious to see if you use a timeout here to kind of go over that and make sure you're on the same page.
I mean, Utah has just, each time that opportunity presents itself, they have to find a way to score.
White finds a cut and Ross, and it's down to 13. Reese Ross tonight with 20. Iowa State able to get this into the half court. Williams is going to go to Crooks. We're looking into her. Instead, Beatty will go to Crooks. Backing in on Evans. And gets it to go with the left. Crooks now with 18.
I don't think that you can just play this game out one-on-one with Crooks inside. I think you pick some, but they're not going to stop Crooks one-on-one inside.
Utah is 4 for 4 from the field in this fourth quarter. They've been able to get some takeaways as well. Lonnie White with a pair of triples. When you look at Utah's victories, it is interesting, the X factor that has been in the wins, she's at 47%. In the losses, she's at 19.
Right. It's, you know, the one thing about their three-point shooting this season, it just seems to be all or nothing. You know, they're a good three-point shooting team, and yet there's no real explanation for why they're either great or they're just not good at all.
Crooks muscles in her 20th point of the night. She's 8 for 14 from the field, 18 of her 20 here in the second half. Evans hands off, back to Sneed. Utah with the clock under 10. Evans, a good look for three. Rebound number 10 on the night for Reese Ross, and that is her 5th double-double. A loose ball foul against Iowa State.
You cannot question the effort and the heart from Reese Ross tonight. Just all over the place, trying to get basketball, trying to get to the rim, score. I mean, her rebounding's been phenomenal. So you just love to see that. And you always want to feel that way about your team in general and everybody who's on the floor.
Evans whips it out. White, rhythm three, this one long. Crooks comes down with the rebound. Long pass out to Hare. Iowa State in no hurry here. They'll set it up with this half-court offense.
Right, they have a big enough lead that they really should completely milk the clock with all of their possessions, other than a chance for an opportunity to run and get something, you know, at the rim.
Big 12 history reached 2,000 points faster than Audie Crooks. She was the first D1, NBA, or WNBA player in this century to have at least 450 points, a field goal percentage of 60.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, she's on the Lisa Leslie Award now, top 10, right? Watch list for the kind of the mid-season. I'm not sure it's mid-season, but and you know, Lisa Leslie, gosh, one of the best post players ever. She was one of the first women to dunk. She was the first woman to dunk the ball in the WNBA, and that was in the early 2000s.
Exceptional player with the LA Sparks. Played in the first WNBA game against the New York Liberty. Evelina Otto no good on this one. And the rebound comes down to Jada Williams. The Iowa State Cyclones have had a lead as big as 19. Crooks tried to get it to 17, but it stays at 15. Utah with some time, but they got to go now. Sneed against Williams. Baseline drive. White, baseline drift. And the lead down to a dozen. Jada Williams a little slow getting up.
Well, you can see what hot three-point shooting can get you. It's just a little tough to come back from the deficit that you've seen the Utes in, but I love that there's still great energy on both sides. You know, both teams are playing hard and competitively, and that's still, from my perspective, I love to watch that. I want to watch any basketball game, no matter the score, when I see that kind of play coming on both ends.
Lisa Williams goes back out for Beatty. Williams trying to post up again against Otto. Great battle in the paint. And Otto is called for the foul on that deflection. Each team now with 3 team fouls.
Number 6, Eddie Otto. That's number 4, Eddie.
Important stretch of play at this moment for Utah overall. Crooks not on the floor, Williams not on the floor. Elisa Williams shuffles and travels. It feels like Utah must capitalize on this stretch right here.
Absolutely. They have to get turnovers. When they do, when they get any miss, secure the rebound, they have to score in the next possession.
They're harassing White away from the ball. A hold up and a foul against Reese Beatty. That was their last foul to give. This is the under 5 timeout. And the crowd back in this one here tonight. Crooks back out there on the floor. Otto guards her with 4 fouls. Crooks goes to the baseline and scores it.
Well, Utah has to dig the dribble. You just can't let Crooks do anything and everything that she wants. You don't need to come on the catch, but you do need to go dig the dribble. You're not a passer when the ball's on the floor.
Lonnie White trying to personally keep Utah as close as possible here. Utah just 12 of 20. Have an obscure 0 for 2 trip, and she's 3 of 6. This is still an excellent free throw shooter overall.
Well, it is. You'd want her on the free throw line. And again, they can get this thing to 10 with 2 free throws and put their press on after the makes and see if they can't get a couple more turnovers. They need to do something so they can't just give it to Crooks the last 4 minutes of the game to go one-on-one. She will not miss enough of those shots.
White with 19 points and 8 rebounds. 12 of her points in this 4th quarter. Wilkie back in for the Utes. White a quick breather. Here's the pressure again. They break it nicely this time. Jackson will control the possession. Back to Crooks. Back to Jackson. A 3, and it's off. Rebound Snead. Here come the Utes. Walker into Otto. Otto stonewalled by Crooks. Walker, a big one. Her first bucket of the night. She was 0 for 5. It's a 7-point game. Jada Williams, dynamic all season. Coming up clutch in big moments. Sometimes to give her team the lead, sometimes they'll put games away. And the star player from the show me side of Kansas City continues to show up and show out.
Just a great take. You know, put a lot of pressure on the Utah defense. And
Going to the line now after that made basket. Number 8, Jada Williams.
nice to see Brooke hit a 3. It's been a while since she's come back off that injury, and you know, maybe that'll be something that really helps propel her and gets her a little bit more in the flow offensively.
Miss on the free throw attempt. 10 of 14 from the stripe, Iowa State. Three minutes to go, 9-point game. White for Snead. Reese Ross, a 2010 performance. Lonnie White, red hot in the 4th, misses on this attempt. Otto with some work deep in the paint. Goes up against Crooks, they're back to back. This throw is deflected, it's not a backcourt violation. Clock at 10. Snead and White back to Ross, and Reese Ross with a career high. It's back to 7. Deep in the paint again, Crooks. She's had the answer all second half, gets her own, and will now try to get it from the line. A fortunate break with her missing, but they couldn't get the defensive rebound.
Well, that's what she's so good at, even when she does.
That is the 5th foul for Otto. She has a career high in rebounds with 10 tonight. Reese Ross, a career high in points.
That's a really nice action, and Reese is really great at that. This is what Crooks is great at. She does come up short on the first one, but you're not going to get turned around quick enough to get up and get those misses. Crooks is going to go get it first, and now she ends up on the free throw line. Just really has such fundamentals. I mean, her pivots are so quick. You know, when she has all of her options, those are the nights she could go for 40. So they doubled her in the first half, or that's about what she would have ended up with tonight.
Crooks, 6 of 7 at the stripe. Kyra Evans back in. She has 4 fouls. A big 2 for 2 trip. And a clutch trip to the line for Crooks. A 9-point lead again here for Iowa State. Utah with some work to do. We take a look at bracketology. The month of February, we'll be looking at this every...
Well, you know, the thing is it's just going to change every week. It's crazy. TCU, West Virginia, Baylor, Texas Tech right now, are leading the Big 12. You can see that they're getting rewarded for that. They're the ones that Baylor and TCU have to play each other twice still as far as the Big 12 championship goes. So that'll be interesting for that. It won't hurt them to play each other. It'll help them to play each other. But you've got still 3 or 4 teams just outside of that have a chance, and just see how they can go down the stretch.
2:17 to go if you're Gavin Peterson. What are the biggest things you want on this possession? Obviously a bucket, but what would you like to see coming out of this timeout?
Well, I hope that he has a plan for them, and they have a plan to try to get that open look and not too far into the shot clock just because of the situation they find themselves in.
Sneed terminates the dribble in the paint. A long possession, longer than they would like, under 2 minutes to go. Maddie Wilkie, straight on 3 short. Big rebound, Jada Williams. And for Jada Williams, she has her 12 points, but also 4 rebounds and 7 assists. Now Elisa Williams, held up, timeout. They're gonna give it to Iowa State on the timeout, and they'll keep possession.
Well, before that, their defensive possession really showed how well they're coached, because they're not gonna let Utah play in out. So L.A. Sneed takes that ball to the paint. Well, here you see the call, the timeout. I guess they thought actually it looks seriously like it's also not the head coach. Maybe they've changed the rules on that from the bench. So they gave it to Billy, not Bill. Guess it's okay these days. Well, I've been out of the game for a while.
If you technically have the same name, it's all.
That's it.
No, but it's a heads-up moment there for the Iowa State Cyclones.
Well, getting back to that defensive possession, I mean, they're well coached. They stayed. The ball went in with Sneed. They trusted their paint helper. They were going to make Sneed finish over the top of Bigger, and they just said no. They stayed on the perimeter, so Sneed couldn't play in out, and there was no open shot for Utah to take in that possession.
Crooks has been amazing in the second half. Comes back out. There's Reese Beatty back into Crooks. 10 seconds to work with. Crooks muscles over Evans, and an offensive foul on Crooks. She's surprised by the call.
It's a good call. It doesn't go against her very often. I know she is surprised because, honestly, they just don't make that call against her. She does displace. The defender is so trying to hold her ground and keep her from the rim that, they don't just flop. They don't just fall. So I agree with that call. I really do.
Audie with her 4th foul. A little shaken up after that play as well. She's at the bench right now. White. 3-pointer misfires big. Rebound, Elisa Williams. And the Cyclones on the verge of putting this one away. Jada Williams behind the back. Williams along the right side dances it in. And Iowa State back up double digits.
Well, that's such a big-time finish. Kyra Evans is there, and she takes on that penetration. She stays straight up and down. And Williams just makes the finish.
And what a deflection by Jackson on the defensive end, paid for it with a shot to the face. It gets back to work. Some pretty tough moments in these final few minutes for the Cyclones. Beatty over to Jackson. In no hurry, clock now under 10. Beatty crosses, flares out right. Jumper no good. Ross comes down with her 11th rebound of the night.
I would have liked to have seen Utah make her take more shots tonight. As one of the kids that they, said, look, we'll come off you and see what we can do. But that water under the bridge there. I mean, Iowa State just played too well tonight.
Clutch plays aren't just made to tie the game or take the lead. They're also made to put games away. And that is the story with Jada Williams.
What a finish. What a finish.
14 points for her, 7 helpers, and 4 rebounds. A great collective effort. And with Iowa State, many times, you'll see Audie Crooks featured. But the team has truly been the star when you look at the way they've bounced out of that losing streak and the way that they've been prevailing over their last 5.
That's the difference in the team down the stretch here, is they're just getting so many contributions. Their kids are really playing to their potential at all the spots around Audie, and that makes for a really hard team to beat.
Crooks. Fingertips and out of bounds. Crooks says, my bad. It'll go back to Utah. And the Utes will use the timeout to advance.
Well, you know, I unfortunately, I think you knew that if Iowa State was going to be reaching the 80-point mark, that was just not a game that Utah was going to win. So that's certainly one of the realities. I thought Utah had a game at 69, had a chance to win if they could keep it a little closer to 70. But I just think that Iowa State showed too many facets of their scoring potential, and every one of them came to play tonight.
Well, another random clock moment as the clock just all of a sudden ran down to 8.8. It's bad clock management, Coach. I don't know what you just did.
I am not on the bench.
I don't know what you just did.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I did not do it.
We'll get it back to 15.1. No harm, no foul here. 9-point lead for the Cyclones. The Utes need a barrage of scores and a miraculous finish to come out on top here. Wilkie backs up for three and nails it. It's a 6-point game, 8.5 to play, and a timeout.
Well, I know that's frustrating for Maddie. She's not that enthusiastic about the make. It's sort of like, yeah, why now, right? She's just such a competitor, and she's such a fine player. And every shot she takes, she and the rest of us believe it's going in. So they've played tough. They came back.
Oh yeah.
Showed the competitiveness that you want to. You just have to play. There's no room for error against the best teams that you play. And there were just too many places for the Utes tonight where they made errors, and the best teams, who tonight is Iowa State, they just made them pay for that.
Well, Coach Bill Fenley, when you talk about him, we can talk about all the accolades. It would take all day. You just say Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
When it comes to you,
What?
I could go off on all the accolades, but instead I just say Hall of Fame coach Elaine Elliott. And a wonderful night coming up February 14th, a legacy night where you'll be honored here in this arena. I know this place is so special to you for so many reasons. And it's been great having you on the broadcast and around. And you and the game go hand in hand, and having your name up there in the rafters, so fitting after such a remarkable.
You're really kind, Tony. It's really nice of you to say. Everybody knows when that happens, it's about the players, and that's no different here. But for me, it's just you don't think about those things. I'm just going to try to take it in and give credit where credit is due.
Well, both of us that you see there on the screen can be in the Hall of Fame. The difference is I have to pay the $22.50 at the door.
I believe I put you in my comp list,
yes,
Tony.
For the
I believe
dinner, yes.
You're free.
I'm excited for that. My whole goal in life is to say, I know somebody.
Well, you know what? You're really good at it. You're being very nice.
It's been truly special, and you can see the way the fans respond to you when you're here, and the staff, current staff at Utah, the players.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
You mean so much to so many people, all in women's basketball together, but especially obviously here in Salt Lake.
Well, it's just been really nice. I feel like, I really support Gavin. He has supported me. He has supported us, and us being our alum. He has just really embraced that and wants to try to get that connection with his team. And we've implemented some things that we're doing now, and I think that connection is just going to get stronger and stronger. And when you have an alum group that really cares like we do and wants to help this program, when we make that connection with the players that are there now and in the future, there's a lot of ways that alum can help these kids in life after, in their professions, and the things that they want to do after basketball. And those are things that we would really like to help provide if we possibly can.
It is great to see these two programs. This is only the 6th time they've ever played. But if you look at their history, so many stand on some very high shoulders, yours included in that. You watch what Bill Fenley has done there, and everything that's talked about in terms of character development, the academics, everything after basketball and into life is on full display.
Well, I really enjoyed just chatting for a few minutes with Bill in the locker room when he was, where you sit for an hour by yourself as the head coach before games. His grandson took me back because we couldn't come to shoot around, so I just wanted to, say hi. It's been a long time since I've seen him, and I just love the guy. Look what he's done, and it was just nice to just get to give him a hug and know that he's just, still in this for all the right reasons, and these kids just love him.
7-point game, under 7 seconds left to play here tonight at the Huntsman Center. The Big 12 schedule with just the February portion remaining. It'll be tense and tight all the way to the finish. Iowa State playing as well as the team can over this past stretch. Audie Crooks, who just continues to climb in a different set of areas, past Chelsea Poppins for 8th most all time in terms of free throws made in Iowa State history. Wilkie looking to get it in. She's going to White. That's 5 in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. They earned this win, and it was fun to watch them play at their best. It's good for the league. Obviously good for their program, and happy for Bill.
A game that Iowa State led